Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is July the 13th now. It is now the next day. And we are continuing our study on the word Niger and its meaning. And we left off at John 1 verse 45. Let's go ahead and continue. Philip findeth Nathanael and saith unto him, We have found him of whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. So here he tells his location, and then the more common saying the son of Joseph to identify him. However, this is a little bit different than the other Jesuses of Nazareth. Here they have the word from incorporated into Jesus of Nazareth, and it's a different number. In a little bit over half, I think it was. We're not going to look it up. But in most of these cases where you see from and then you see the 3478 as opposed to 3470, I think it is, you can just substitute this for Sepphoris. Just read the context and you'll know. This is what's supposed to actually be where Jesus was from. This is written correctly. He tells him exactly where he's from, and then he says the son of Joseph. Jesus from Sepphoris, or either they wrote it in there correctly, and then he identifies him as the son of Joseph. No, this is the way it was written. We need to see it like that because it's not in there. I don't think it's in there a whole lot. So anyway, Nathanael, let me show it to you in Scriptures for All. So I think do we have one up where it says Jesus of Nazareth? No, that's okay. But it says Jesus the Nazarene, just to refresh your memory. Here, let me pull one out. Let me find something. Here. Here we go, John 7. So okay, no, that's not. Acts 22:8. Here we go. So this is Paul on the road to Damascus. And is that 22? There we go. Jesus the Nazarene. Now, I think in other cases it's I-A-N, but Jesus the Nazarene it's going to be different because it's in Greek, and it's identifying him as the one that connects us to God, as opposed to where Paul, it says they're Nazarenes or a Nazarene or something, putting him as part of a group. But Jesus is the Nazarene. So just to refresh your memory. So let's go ahead and go to John 1:45. And findeth Nathanael and said unto him, We have found him whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write, Jesus, the son of Joseph. Where we're looking for from 575. Here, Jesus, the son of the Joseph, the one from Nazareth. So that's the word Nazareth here. But as I said before, he was not born in Nazareth. That's just not true. So I have notes here. I'm looking at my notes. That's when you hear me pause, that's what I was doing. When you heard me pause, that's what I was doing. So let's go ahead and continue on. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. We're going to skip this. I don't need this anymore. I thought I was going to talk about us being kings and priests, but so we don't need this either. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross, and the writing was, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. Hold on. So on the cross, Pilate is going to write the person's name and his title, what he's guilty of. Or his name and what he's guilty of. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross, and the writing was Jesus of Nazareth. Why would he put the city that he was raised in? Why would he not put that he was Jesus of Bethlehem? It doesn't make any sense for him to write that like that. There was one other thing. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my notes again. I wanted to point out. Hold on. I'm sorry, you guys. I have to go back. So he introduced him as Jesus from Nazareth, and then let's just read down a couple of verses. And Nathanael said unto him, Can there any good thing come out of Nazareth? Philip saith unto him, Come and see. And this is why it was kind of easy to identify where he came from, because the Sephoras had such a bad reputation back in that time that apparently people wrote about it. It was just a bad place to live. Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him, and saith of him, Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile. Nathanael saith unto him, Whence knowest thou me? Jesus answered and said unto him, Before that Philip called thee, when thou wast under the fig tree, I saw thee. Nathanael answered and saith unto him, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God. Now why would he just say that if he was just introducing him as Jesus of Nazareth? Thou art the King of Israel. He introduced him as our connection to God, the priest, the priest or the person he introduced him as the Messiah. But they didn't use the word Messiah. They used nigh to God, the person that brings us nigh to God. It's a less formal title, but it means the same thing. It just means more to us because the story's already been written. And we're much more positive and rooted in the fact that Jesus is our Messiah. So it means so much more to us. But at the time, it was a general title for he is the one. He is the person that brings us nigh to God. So instantly after this, after being introduced as that person, he didn't question it. Then he didn't question it. He identified him under the fig tree, and he said to him, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God. After a short conversation, thou art the King of Israel. Is he able to discern that? He could have just been a prophet. No, he had been introduced as that. He had been introduced as the Messiah. So when he saw what he did, he was impressed and he knew it was true. He only confirmed what he had already been told. He didn't make that observation on his own. That's what I wanted to point out there. So let's go back. Or ahead where we were. Okay. Here, Pilate wrote on the wrote a title, and on the title they would put the name of the person, Jesus. But here he put the title, the Nazarene. Let's look it up. John 19:19. Writes yet and title the Pilate and places on the Jesus the Nazarene, the King of the Judeans. See how they have Judeans here instead of Nazarenes? We're going to look at another verse where they have eans and stuff like that. But it's not een. And there accompanied him into Asia. Hold on. Let me make sure I didn't skip anything. I thought I had two different versions of that same verse in there. I guess not. And there accompanied him into Asia Sopater of Beera and of the Thessalonians. I'm not up to it right now. You can read through this. We'll just look at it in Scriptures for All so that we can see how it's written. Acts 20, verse 4. Okay. Here we have Berean, A-N, of Thessalonians, A-N-S, Gaius of Derbe. Oh, okay. So it's Derbians. So it's giving you A-N as the ending for the name, as opposed to the E-N-E. I'm not sure why, other than the fact that Nazarene is not a location. It's not a location, it's a group. It's a group. But in the case of Jesus, he is the one, and then we take his name on as a follower, because we are priests as well. We're just not the high priest. Anyway, let's continue on. Oh, they have us here as well. Well, but mostly it's A-N-S or I-N-S. And then they just translate it. It's translated as them being part of a resident of that city. And set up over his head his accusations written. Okay, I had it out of order. This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. So, this is Jesus, the King of the Jews. Which makes a lot more sense, because he's not actually saying he's from a town that he wasn't even born in, he was just raised in. Ye men of Israel, hear these words. Jesus of Nazareth, a man approved of God among ye by miracles and wonders and signs which God did by him in the midst of you, as ye yourself also know. I can't remember the circumstance around this. Oh, Peter's giving a sermon at Pentecost. He's preaching to all of the people that have come from all of the other nations, and he's telling them about Jesus. This is during he's preaching at Pentecost. So instead of introducing him as Jesus the Messiah, he introduces him as Jesus coming from a town which he was raised in but not born in, meaning absolutely nothing. It just doesn't mean anything. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for him to put Jesus of Nazareth there. Especially under such a crowd. At such a crowd, when it's so important for him to tell the truth about Jesus, why not just introduce him as our Messiah? Jesus, our Messiah. A man approved of God among you by miracles. He's been proven of God by miracles and wonders and signs, which God did by him in the midst of you, as ye yourself also know. Jesus, the Messiah. That makes sense. Not Jesus from a unknown town. Doesn't mean anything. And when he was gone out into the porch, another maid saw him and said unto him, now this is Peter, where he's about to deny Jesus. And just take note of what the woman says, how she identifies Jesus. And when he was gone out into the porch, another maid saw him and said unto them that were there, this fellow was also with Jesus of Nazareth. Come on. It's like it was part of his name at this point. It's just not true. But we'll look this up because I think we're near the end of the study now, so we should have time to look at this real quick. Matthew 26. Okay, normally my scroll will work there, but it didn't this time. No problemo. And this one was with Jesus the Nazarene. I might do a little bit further study into this. I'll have to dust off my very limited understanding of the Greek language to do so, but I'll have to recall my very limited understanding of the Greek language. But I might do a little bit further study into the "een" part of Nazarene, since our definition was so limited. But this is she obviously doesn't know he's from Nazareth, and it doesn't say that. Then Peter said, silver and gold have I none, but such as I have give I thee, in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk. Come on. Why not just Jesus Christ? It's nonsensical. It's just nonsensical. That's why I put this verse and the previous verse in here, because it's nonsensical for him to say of Nazareth, unless it means something more than what they tell us it does. Be it known unto you all and to all the people of Israel that by the name Jesus Christ of Nazareth, why did I put this in here? Because 2 examples should have been enough. I don't know. Be it known unto you all and to all the people of Israel that by the name Jesus Christ of Nazareth, whom ye crucified, whom God raised from the dead, even by him doth this man stand here before you whole. So I just put that in there as another nonsensical example. This is Peter and John for counsel. I can't remember the details, but let's go on. I think we have one more. Let's see. Yep, this is our last one. Let's look up it. It, apparently, in the old days, was derogatory. A follower or supporter of a particular area or person, often used in order to show disapproval. Hittite sodomite, all of the enemies of God, they end in ite. So it was a derogatory, it was a derogatory group in the Bible, relating to a particular set of religious or political ideas, and or with the ideas of a particular person. This is just in the old time. It doesn't carry the negative connotations today when you hear it, but in the Bible, it does mean something negative. It's an insult. Someone who lives in a particular place or belongs to a particular group. A Brooklynite. See, here, this is written modern, so Brooklynite would not be something negative. But neither would Israelite. But in the Bible, it would be negative. And it is written negative where there's a woman that's called an Israelite because she's married to an Egyptian. It wasn't written by anyone in the Bible, though. It's clearly written by, it's clearly a forgery, in my opinion, anyway. No, it's a forgery. Anyway, I is a negative, and we have done a study on the Nazarite. So if Jesus is connecting you, bringing you close to God, here you have the Nazarite who tells you to stay away from the vine in all of the fruits in the vine in order to, as we found out in our study, separate yourself from God and to separate yourself from the Lord. Because in the Bible, Jesus is represented as the vine, and we are grafted into that vine. So here, symbolically, you separate yourself from Jesus in order to tie yourself to another God by staying away from the vine and the fruit of the vine and all of these other nonsensical, well, I don't know, I'm sure they mean something to whoever made them up, but it's certainly not something, a ritual that's supposed to tie you closer to God. None of the rituals in here, if any rituals, are from God. That's not his way. It's just not. He has the feast days, and you can eat and drink and this, that, and the other. But these steps and rituals and stuff like that, Jesus spent his time trying to get us away from all of that stuff. Yeah, so no. Nope. No. Anyway. Well, actually, let me say it like this. Because our feast days, I don't see them as ritualistic, but some may say they are. But our feast days were only meant to teach us. And this is why they're not stressed as much today as they were back in the day. They were meant for the Father and then the Son, for the lifetime of the person that they were given to, just to drive it home, so that 2,000 years later, 4,000 years later, we could have the prophecies, and we would be able to see them carried out as they were written down by the people that done them before us. Okay, so anyway, that's my last scripture. I will leave it at that. Niger means a priest. He is an heir to Aaron, which would have been raised up in the temple in Jerusalem. It comes from the root word nigh, meaning to be nigh to God. So they were just called Niger, or Nigers is the plural, whatever. And that one root word is also the source of Nazareth, which is in Greek, and of course the followers of Jesus who call themselves Nazarenes, And we've also already studied previously the word Christian, where it says, where it's mentioned in the Bible, it says the people that Paul and Barnabas were warned of Christians. It does not say they were called Christians. that word is very ominous in nature, and it's not ominous. It gives the impression as it's not ominous. It's like a warning from God. It's a word from God saying, watch out for this. That's the way it's used. And so they are warned of Christians, not called Christians. That's an incorrect translation. Anyway, that's my study. I'm going to leave it at that. And I will talk to you all in the next video.